This is a test. I'm testing my new camera, and I have fastened this camera over my bench, and I'm trying how this looks when I'm filming my test rig. So the first thing I will do with this test rig is that I will spray these ISO slots with this oxide clean from Biltema. This cleaner is quite strong, and I found that it removes oxidation quite fast. Sometimes it takes 2 sprays to get it clean, and sometimes you have to use a brush. But for otherwise clean contacts like this, I don't think it's necessary to do anything else than to maybe massage them with a card. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to exercise the slots now with this card. You see the fantastic placement of this EEPROM. It means that that card slot is no good for anything that has this lower part of the ISA card. Yes, like that. So I think this will be good to go, and I will take and place the cards again, check that it boots, and then I will try to put one of the other cards that I got from my brother into this rig. And I need to figure out how to best test the different cards to see if they are fully working. The sound cards I think will be easy. I will try to find a game or something that utilizes these cards and see if they works okay. And I will try to fit the other IO cards, and PCA cards of course I can't test in this rig, but all the other ISO cards I will find a way to see if they work in here. So for now I'm just going to put this back and just see if this boots okay. I do think I will get some errors because I have one more thing to do. I have to make a battery pack to connect to this one, so I will do that first and then I will continue. Now I've connected a battery pack, and this is just ordinary batteries that I've connected. And when you use this kind of connector that you have here with these 4 pins, you actually don't need to think about diodes or other stuff, because when you remove the cap on the battery connector like you have here, you disconnect the charging circuit. So when you just connect the battery between the 5 volt and the earth terminal on this battery connector, you can use normal batteries. And you can see that I ironically enough have chosen the Varta brand of batteries that in many cases is causing this destruction of old electronics anyway. But in this case it actually wasn't a Varta battery, it was a GP battery that was installed on this main board. The main purpose of this build was to replace this motherboard on my test rig with the one that we have now restored. And I am not quite finished with restoring this board yet, because I still haven't lacquered on the traces that I removed the silk screen on, but that I will have to do. And this board is just fastened with screws. So we will just unscrew this and see if the screws will fit good enough for the new motherboard. I really seem to have gone overboard with fastening this board. And this I will just put aside for now. I will pack it in an anti-static bag and keep it for the next project. And this board is fitted with those plastic standoffs. And they can be a hassle to remove, especially when they've been in place for a long time and they've gotten old, because these things get brittle with age and they're not as flexible as and not every one of these is the same make. I've already seen two different ones. Yes, and that was that. And this board has 6 holes and they all seems no, they actually don't. This one over here I have to remove, and that means that this board won't get any support in this corner, so I'm going to use one of these stand-offs for support. I'm just going to remove the nut down here. As I said, there was several different kinds of these, and actually I've 3 different kinds and all of them have different height, and that's something I would have been really careful about when you mount the case. And you can see here it's actually more than 2 millimeters, maybe 3. Yeah, it's 3 millimeters off in the size from the smallest to the biggest, and it's actually 3 different sizes in this board. But this was the height that matched closest to the metal standoffs that I have on my test rig. Yes, and this board you didn't get more space in this direction because the width is of course the same, but it doesn't take up so much space this way. So I was thinking of mounting the Gotek and the other stuff with double-sided tape or something on this sheet of wood that I have here, just to tidy things up a bit. This is double-sided tape that I bought in a building shop in Russia, and it's quite strong. I have not seen anything like it here in builder shops, but this should be a really strong one, and it's totally transparent when you take off this red coating that's the protection tape. And I'm going to use some stripes of this, and I'm going to glue this one, and I'm going to glue the power supply. It won't stand up too much, but it will at least see to that we can tidy up the cables a little bit. And this power supply I could of course have fixed and cut away the cables that I don't need, but I have been using this power supply for other stuff too. In the past I have had lot of other test rigs for different purposes, but the last couple of years I have not done any testing that requires me to change a lot of motherboards or a lot of other stuff. I'm only going to use this to test time appropriate stuff that would have been appropriate for a 386 SX kind of motherboard. And if I want to test something else that goes into another computer, I do have some 486 and Pentium complete computers, both portables and mini towers and some desktops that I can use for that purpose. This is connected with just SATA drive connections. I will probably never use them on anything test related, and this is also the 12 volt that you put on as extra 12 volt power to the power regulator for the CPU on Pentium 4 or newer motherboards. And you have this, that's the PCIe Express screen card, and it's also just ground and plus 12 volt, and I'm not going to use these on anything that I'm going to test on this, at least not now. So I'm going to tidy up this. I'm just going to connect a cable tie over these. This will never look nice, but I think I actually am going to make some effort to keep this in place. So I might fix a hook down here to fasten this one. This one I will occasionally need. This is the normal Molex connector for a hard drive or a CD-ROM drive. So this I will need to have in hand. What I ended up doing was I put a screw over here, and I put the rest of the leads for the power supply, I put them behind there, and I also strapped these with a cable tie. So it's much more tidy than it was. And this cable fits nicely down here. And this is loose, so I can use it afterwards. And for this one I actually made this small bracket, not my best metallic work with, but it will do. And I'm just going to see if this fits. I'm going just to fasten this with one screw to the power supply, was the general idea. This is the on-off switch from the ATX power supply connector, and this is actually supplied on this adapter from ATX to this old AT power supply. and I'm just going to find one PC connection type of screw and see if this fits, and the hole to the power supply. Yes. It fits somewhat, but I would actually be more comfortable if it got 1 millimeter more down in the socket, but this will do for now, and if this works from this position it will be the best, because then we will have the front side of the cards we are testing visible, and I think that will be quite good. This won't fit there. Will it fit there? Just about. And we have the XT EDI card, and maybe I can wedge that in between here. Yes, I can. I have to be careful so I don't short anything out here, but I think this will be sufficient to keep this at bay. And I take this one, and I have this keyboard adapter. The keyboard I'm using for this is an old clicky Acer keyboard, and I have this adapter from PS2 to AT connector, and this is nothing logical or other computing done inside of this. This is just a passive adapter, as the signals that's normally used on the AT keyboard is the same as the AT keyboard. So the PS2 and the AT keyboard is electrical interchangeable. That should be it, I think. And now for the moment of truth. There the main switch on the ATX is on, and there I have switched on. Now I've dismounted test card. This combined ESA and PCI test card also have this speaker connector, so I actually don't have an internal speaker connected now to this test rig, so that I will have to fix. Maybe I just fit one of these small speakers like this directly to the speaker lead. I will see what I can find in one of my drawers. Yes, I'm going to connect this. This is actually the speaker that was in the Evercom computer I just tested. This is a standard type of PC speaker that was in all the clone machines from back in the day. And this is an ordinary speaker. It's kind of high impedance. I think it's 32 ohms or something. I seem to remember seeing that on the back of some of the speakers. I think they stopped marking them in the end to save a couple of bucks. But I will just connect this one to the speaker output lead, and we should be able to hear the test tick sound when it starts. I will just glue it down for now to keep it from falling on the floor. This is one of the cases where this sticks real good. Okay, there. I think I'm going to put it over here to have some space from the ISO slots, and I'm just going to pull up the extra lead here like this. Yes, then I test again to see if the memory test tick sound is back. Yes, and there you have it. So now I think we can say that this is fully operational. So I think that will be it for this video. The test rig is now finished, and I'm able to start the test. So we can say mission accomplished. So thanks for watching. Please hit subscribe if you want to be notified when I post another video, and see you in the next one.